Do you know about all of these awesome dungeon crawler RPGs? My guess is you don't, and that's a shame honestly, because they're some of the most fun and hardcore non-pay-to-win RPGs out there. But today we're gonna fix that, because I'm gonna share what I consider to be the very best dungeon crawlers on mobile, and you can let me know which of these you haven't heard of before. And what better place to start than with one of the lesser known dungeon crawlers called Sproggiwood. This fun and colorful roguelite has us dive deep into a randomly generated dungeon to defeat all the enemies. And although we start with just a single character class, we unlock new classes and lots of weapons and armor as we progress through the dungeon, all while of course spending gold on improving our stats. Winning in this game is all about figuring out which class to use when, and then to adapt our playstyle to the 4 unique skills of each class. And this also creates a deep level of replayability. The game is overall just really great, and at a $4.99 price point, it's an easy recommendation. But one of the best free dungeon crawlers on mobile is definitely the old school 3D RPG Moonshades, which by the way can also be played offline. It has a real-time combat system, a huge open world dungeon full of traps and puzzles, and then lots of items and gear to explore. It pretty much has everything you'd want from one of these dungeon crawlers. Being a free-to-play game, it monetizes through just a few in-app purchases that, in this case, allow us to buy extra inventory space and some permanent stat boosts, but none of them are at all necessary, and the free-to-play experience is great in this game. It also sits at an 80% positive user score on Mini Review, so definitely check it out. And if you enjoy these old-school looking games, you might also want to check out Eternium Ultimate, which is a truly amazing monster-catching RPG and today's first bonus game. Now, I really couldn't put this list together without also mentioning Crypt of the NecroDancer, which is what you get if you take a typical dungeon crawler roguelike and then mix it with rhythm-based gameplay. And the way this is integrated is what I really like about it, because we have to move our character to the beat of the music, which is the rhythm part, to avoid losing our gold multiplier. And if we miss even just once, then the enemies will quickly take advantage of that and attack us. So that is definitely some very unique gameplay, but then just like in any other dungeon crawling RPG roguelike, the objective of the game is to get through 5 zones that each consist of 3 levels and a boss fight. So it really is the perfect game if you like the mix of those two, the dungeon crawling and the rhythm-based gameplay. The price is $4.99, and if you've been looking for a unique and very hardcore dungeon crawler, you gotta check this out. Hey, hope you enjoyed hope you enjoyed the video, and be sure to subscribe for more of these. And now, back to the games, because I have got a pretty unknown dungeon crawler coming up next. But first, it's time for Otherworld Legends. This is a super fast-paced dungeon crawler with a high-quality pixel art style, great controls, and an awesome melee combat system with lots of different skills and unique stats for each character. Like in many of these games, we have to start all the way over when we die in this game, but we do still get a bit of permanent progression in the way of new abilities we can unlock, heroes we can buy, and stat-boosting potions that we can craft. Just like Moonshades, the game is free to play with a few incentivized ads and then in-app purchases for resurrection cards and to unlock new characters, but none of this is necessary to enjoy the game. And with a 100% positive user score on Mini Review, this is a no-brainer of a recommendation. But now then, as today's first portrait mode game, I've got the relatively unknown Dungelot Shattered Lands, which is a wacky epic adventure full of zombie cows, giant evil mushrooms, and that addictive just one more round gameplay. The game features 18 dungeons to get through, 4 characters with unique playstyles, several mini-games and side quests, and then an endless mode once you've completed the rest of it. The biggest complaint some people have about this game is that it relies too heavily on random number generation, RNG, making it hard to truly create a winning strategy. But at the same time, that's exactly what makes it neat as a more casual dungeon crawler, because you don't have to have figured out this fuller strategy to just have fun with the game. So if that's your cup of tea and you've got $3.99 to spare, definitely check it out. This next one might not look beautiful, and it is available in English by the way, despite what this footage looks like, but I think Buriedbornes could very well become one of your favorite turn-based dungeon crawlers on mobile. Because like I saw someone put it on Google Play recently, you pick a character and then you literally send it to its death. That's it. That's the game, but it's the sheer depth of choices you make along the way in the game that makes it fun and engaging. And frankly, I couldn't have put it any better myself. I have not gotten super far into this game, which also explains this footage by the way, but I'm already liking it and people seem to love it, so I decided to include it here. So if you're looking for a free offline playable dungeon crawler with lots of content to explore, I think you will love this one. Just be aware of the steep learning curve. And while we're on the topic of games that are awesome but don't look that enticing, you might also want to check out this next bonus game called Grim Quest, which everyone seems to agree is just amazing. Game number 7 in this list, not counting the bonus games that is the epic platform-based dungeon crawler called ScourgeBringer, which has one of the most interesting combat systems of any of today's games. Because in this game, every attack we land allows us to stay in the air for a bit longer, and so as long as we keep attacking, we can air dash between enemies to basically fly around in these levels. Although that is a lot easier said than done, as we also have to dodge the bullets and avoid the many traps in each dungeon. The combat is super satisfying, and it only gets better the more upgrades we collect. The pixel art style looks fantastic, and the game sits at a 100% user score on Mini Review. So if you have $7 to spare, definitely check it out. Next up is one of my personal favorite games of today, a little gem called Tallowmere 2, which has a super solid combat system and, interestingly, even online co-op. So the gist of the game is that as we run around these dungeons to save cats, because of course we're saving cats, and slay enemies, we'll find a bunch of awesome weapons that just make the combat more and more exciting, fast-paced, and just straight up chaotic. And a bit like in ScourgeBringer, we can even fly around in these levels since we've got infinite jumping. The touch controls are great, the game supports external controllers, and it's free to download with a $4.99 in-app purchase, then unlocking the co-op features and other helpful in-game systems. So think of it a bit like a free trial version. I really love this one, and I think you will as well if you check it out. But hey, if you're looking for a game with a bit more of an adventure feel to it, you gotta check out Battle Chasers Night War, which is a mobile port of a turn-based JRPG. And apart from just the awesome monster fighting, the loot collecting, and the resource gathering, the reason people love this game is for its beautifully drawn landscape, the highly detailed character sprites, and amazing animations. It's just truly a high-quality game all around. It is also one of today's most expensive games at $10, but with over 40 hours of gameplay, it's definitely worth it if you enjoy turn-based dungeon crawlers. As a more casual dungeon crawling experience though, there's also Redungeon by Nitrome. Shout out to Nitrome, by the way. I used to play their games all the time back in the Flash browser gaming days, and this has a bit of that same nice retro arcade-ish atmosphere to it. So the goal here in Redungeon is to collect coins in infinite randomly generated dungeons while trying to escape the many obstacles and monsters, and then use those coins to upgrade more than 11 different heroes that each have a unique ability that affects the gameplay. Now, unlike some of the turn-based games I've talked about today, Redungeon is all about reacting and thinking very fast, which is also what makes it challenging and addictive in a good way. The gameplay is just great fun, and with only a few in-app purchases to remove the ads and buy more gold, the free-to-play experience is almost perfect. And as a quick bonus recommendation, you might also want to check out Space Grunts 2, which is a minimalistic dungeon crawler where we use a deck of cards to defeat our enemies. It's great fun, so check it out. And now for a game I think most of you are gonna love, Gunfire Reborn, which in my opinion is among the top 10 best games to release last year. And part of the reason for that is just how unique it is. Unlike all the other games mentioned today, Gunfire is a fast-paced first-person shooter that plays like a roguelike dungeon crawler, and it features not only single player but also 4-player co-op. There's also controller support, lots of fun weapons to acquire and upgrade, unique traits for each character, and just an overall really deep gameplay experience with lots of replayability, which is also what explains the 100% positive user score it has on Mini Review. I think it's absolutely worth its price of $7, so if you like shooters and dungeon crawlers, I can't recommend this enough. And as a bonus recommendation, if you haven't tried it yet, you of course have to also check out Dead Cells, although I think most of you probably know about this one already. The next game, called Eternium, is pretty much just a classic at this point. It was one of the first action RPGs to really make it on mobile, and its dungeon crawler-like gameplay still holds up surprisingly well. So what have we got here? A ton of loot? Check. Lots of enemies and bosses to slay? Check. And an interesting system for activating spells using swipe gestures? And check. I think you'll like this game. It is completely free to play with in-app purchases for more gems that can be used to grow stronger, a bit faster, and skip the wait times for crafting gear and upgrading our character skills. When I played the game, I really didn't mind this much and I didn't spend any money on it, so if you can live with that monetization, it's definitely worth checking out. So how many of these games did you know already? Let me know in the comments down below, and check out this video next for all the most exciting games that releases later this year.